Hey there, Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. My name is Hannah. I am a Western Practical Astrologer, and I'm here today to talk all about this upcoming, very expansive, very huge full moon in the sign of Sagittarius happening on the 23rd of May. So we're just going to dive right into this. Yes, the full moon in Sagittarius. How are we feeling about it? Are you looking forward to this one? We've got some really interesting and exciting information to share about this full moon. I cannot wait to share it with you. So, before we do dive in, though, I just want to remind you of my astrology products. All right, I've got guides, merch, cheat sheets, all that good stuff. You can find my digital products over at Etsy as well, but you can find all of these over at hannahselsewhere.com. You can also book a reading with me if you would like. And I want to say thank you so much to my patrons over at Patreon for all of your support. I appreciate you so much. And if you would like to gain access to new videos early, as well as daily forecasts and PDF guides, then you can join the Patreon. It is a great way to support the channel. Also, ad-free videos, I just want to say. Now, just one more thing I would like to share before we do really get into this forecast and also your horoscopes. I have launched a podcast, and it's called the Cosmic Check-In Podcast. Over there, you can find episodes about the fire signs, earth signs, air signs, and also the water signs. So they've all been covered. Those episodes are up, and I am hosting a competition actually. The instructions to the competition can be found in the community tab here on YouTube. But basically, the competition is to rate the podcast 5 stars, and what will happen is you get entered into a draw, but you do need to fill in the form to let me know that you did the 5 stars. And you have an opportunity to win my guide, my astrology guide, which I poured so much of my love into. Yeah, that is how you enter. But overall, I really hope you enjoyed the podcast if you give it a listen. Rightio. So let's go over this. Quick overview of the aspects. What we have here is, of course, the sun and moon are opposite each other. They are at 2 degrees. Then what we also notice is that there is a Taurus stellium in the sky whilst this full moon is taking place. And the dispositors of both the sun and the moon are in Taurus. Ooh, that's going to tell us something quite significant. Not to mention, we have both of the benefics, Jupiter and Venus, at 29 degrees in Taurus. Hey, kickstarting a new cycle within our Taurus house. So there's the full moon plus a new cycle. A new cycle between Jupiter and Venus is beginning, but there's also something rather finalizing, something rather completing about this full moon as well. And the finalizations have a lot to do with Taurus, have a lot to do with Jupiter being in Taurus over the past year, right? 29 degrees, the anaretic degree. It's really this degree of great insight, great reflection. It's this whole attitude of been there, done that. Okay, I've bought the t-shirt. I have all of these experiences. Not to mention Jupiter is so much about experience, right? So really, this full moon in Sagittarius, Sagittarius, the sign that is just lives, thrives off experience. Yeah, this full moon is so much about, okay, what have you experienced over this past year, right? Whilst Jupiter has been in Taurus. So we're going to get into that. Also notice how the sun itself, right? So the sun is going to enter Gemini in 2 days. The Gemini season begins on the 20th of May. Ooh, interesting, fun. 17th today. Okay, 3 days away. But yes, we see here that both Jupiter and Venus are conjunct the sun. But you see, they're also making this opposition to the moon. So we're going to dive into that a little bit. Also notice how Mercury, so Mercury again, one of the dispositors, so the dispositor of the sun, that is in Taurus, creating a sextile to Saturn and also a sextile to Juno. Now this, or rather a trine. My mistake for that error. My mistake for that error, everyone. It is a trine to Juno, not a sextile. But that trine to Juno it's much stronger than the sextile to Saturn. So we will get into that as well. Then also see here how we've got Sun making a trine to Pluto retrograde and then the Moon making a sextile to Pluto retrograde. So Pluto is involved in this. Pluto is a player, one of our key players during this full moon because, hey, it's at 2 degrees, so that those aspects rather strong. Then we notice here how Mars is making a square to Vesta. So we're getting some of these asteroids involved, as you can see, with Juno and then Vesta. Yes, so Mars is making a square to Vesta. Chiron is making a square to Ceres retrograde. And then we also have this opposition between Jupiter and Venus. So the opposition to Pallas retrograde. So indeed, we have some interesting aspects to discuss today. Hello everyone, welcome, join in. I really hope that you do find this presentation to be helpful today. Thank you for being here. Now, as I said, this full moon is happening at 2 degrees. So the number 2, the Taurus degree, further adding to all of these Taurus themes. I mean, Taurus really is a big part of this full moon, right? So thinking about how these Sagittarius themes during the full moon that we're going to get into, how they are linked to that of our resources, to that of our belongings, our security, what we value, our self-worth, these things. And with the number 2, well, the number 2 in numerology is so much about harmony and balance, right? You think about 2, a duo, a team, togetherness, cooperation. There is understanding when it comes to the vibration of this number and negotiation, of course. But however, there can be maybe a little bit of the overly other focused and perhaps somewhat too reliant on others or sort of leaning toward codependency when it comes to this number. So perhaps that's something to keep in mind. Even with those oppositions, we notice this sort of back and forth energy, this give and take energy as well, and also a desire for balance and harmony, which hopefully we can obtain some of that, right? I even think with how the moon is quite close to Pallas at retrograde in Scorpio, there could be some fears that come up to the surface, right? Hey, it could even be that our very vision, our aspirations, these things are more complex and more complicated, perhaps because of our fears or because of our emotional sort of attachments to things, or there could be a lot of intensity about during this full moon. Yeah, maybe just be cautious of sort of who you are receiving information from. Is there any sort of like fear mongering or like, oh, you need to be on guard, does it is there information that creates this oh, something terrible is going to happen. Yeah, just there could be possible power struggles and those power dynamics that could very well play out, especially because there are also those aspects to both, well, the aspects between sun and moon to Pluto retrograde. This could be on a collective level, right? It could be to do with the media, society, certain events around the world that, hey, you know what, in a really sensitive matter here, there could be things that are rather triggering, and it's like, oh my gosh, wow. So that's the other part of that could be a reality, a big part of this this full moon for us. But anyway, I want to remind you what full moons are about, right? So, what happens around a full moon? We reset. It's an opportunity to really gain clarity and to gain deeper insight and understanding about those themes, right? Those Sagittarius themes. And this full moon is also within that Sagittarius decan. So there is that sort of double influence, if you will. But yes, the full moon, it's also about shedding, releasing. What are you letting go of, right? Any beliefs that you're letting go of. I really want to just keep more of the meat for the next slide. But yeah, there is that the releasing and the shedding, closing chapters, closing doors. Hey, the closing of certain chapters and doors, so to speak, can lead us to new ones, right? New opportunities, new forms of understanding, new ways of seeing things, wider visions, and all of the rest of it. But this is also about reaping rewards, which this helps us segue into the next slide. If let's see. Yes, segue into the next slide because we want to kind of think of where we're coming from, how the moon has unfolded. What is the journey we've been on? This is very Sagittarius, the storyteller. We go on a journey, we go on an adventure when it comes to Sagittarius. But yes, there was a new moon in Sagittarius. This was November of 2022. So, can you perhaps think back to that time, right? What intentions did you set within your Sagittarius house, right? Maybe intentions to do with morality, your beliefs, your understandings of the world, your views. Perhaps you even planted a new seed to do with expansion, meaning. Gratitude could also be a big thing, practicing gratitude, or even more so focusing on our self belief. Self belief is a huge part of this full moon. I think this is what I'm coming to understand, especially because the dispositor of the full moon, which is Jupiter, that is in Taurus conjunct Venus. And Venus is so much about our self worth. And so Jupiter then is also about our self belief. So it's almost like this is a full moon that's going to get us facing our fears, right? Pallas retrograde in Scorpio. Um, Facing our fears to do with value, value, opportunity, abundance, this type of stuff. Yes, yes. I would like to talk more about this, but I just want to say that's the new moon part. Then we move on to the first quarter moon. So that was August of 2023. So the intentions that you set within your Sagittarius house, they were challenged. Challenged perhaps by critical thought, which isn't a bad thing, right? It's good to make room for critical thinking. We need to be able to use our critical thinking skills to help us, prioritize things in our lives and see what is wasteful, right? Because the sun was in Virgo whenever that first quarter moon happened. So that was August of 2023. So this is a moon that will illuminate the intentions that we set November 2022. Jupiter was retrograde in Pisces at 28 degrees during that new moon as well. So is it that this is a full moon that's going to get us reconsidering our dreams, reconsidering our wildest dreams, our wildest fantasies? I see this time period, not just the full moon. I just want to say this. I'm recording this on the 17th of May. We have the Jupiter Cassimi tomorrow, plus we have Venus conjunct Uranus tomorrow. So the way I see this is there's more to this story. What we're in right now, this time period, so from around now, even a few days ago, all the way up to the full moon. So this period, we are going to surprise ourselves and possibly surprise others by our change of course, our change of direction. There's just something about this full moon that may have us rethinking what our strategies are, right? Even Palace is about strategy. Palace there, how we strategize. And maybe this is even suggesting those transformations, right? Those transformations to do with strategy, to do with, hey, I can see where I have perhaps limited myself or where I've felt really depleted. What about my energy? What about my emotions? How can I soar? How can I uplift myself? Embrace the new. But maybe at the same time, there's something very unexpected about all of this, right? Even when we consider how Uranus is making a bit of a conjunction to Jupiter and Venus, right? So Uranus is still there, and Uranus then has something to say. It says, okay, embrace something new, embrace the change, step outside of your comfort zone. So, fascinating, fascinating. Now, the full moon then is about a reset, it's about a release, it's about clarity. So, we could find that around this full moon, and of course, as time does progress further, even coming up to the third quarter moon, which will be February 2025. So, from the full moon up until that time period, we may find that our understandings of our beliefs, our direction, these things will really start to change and unfold. So pay attention. Journal. I would say journal is important to do. And what I also want to mention is the dispositor. So like I said, the dispositor of the moon is Jupiter, and that is in Taurus. Jupiter is conjunct Venus at 29 degrees. So ushering in this whole new cycle, a new sort of year to 14 months, something like that, cycle within our Taurus house. So this Jupiter-Venus cycle is so much about our gifts, our talents. How are we blessed? It's so much about our self-worth, our self-belief. What is it that makes you different? What is it that makes you unique? How do you stand out, especially when it comes to a certain skill or a talent that you have? And when it comes to knowledge that how do you connect the dots? How do you see the bigger picture? What is different? What is unique about your perspective, your vision? And also, this, I think, is a full moon so much about gratitude. It's this whole thing of appreciating the now, for you never know what tomorrow might bring. You never know. Tomorrow might bring something very tragic, but it could also bring something completely different, completely new, that opens you up to a whole new world, so to speak. But even on that, oh my gosh, there's even there's even a slight bit of grief in that, isn't there? Like, oh, I've gained perhaps something successful, or something more that more or different that I deem as successful. But then you also recognize that that old version of you, that previous version of you, that's no longer, that's not a part of your world anymore. And there can be sadness in that, right? There can be that kind of, the nostalgia, the I'm never going to be there again. And this is why I think appreciation for where we are now is just so, so vital. Because it's like, why wish your life away? Why wish the now away? You're never going to live in the present if you do that. You're never going to enjoy your life. You're just going to get to the end of your life and then realize that your life was comprised of you wishing that it would come to the end, right? And it's like, that's no way to live. That's no way to live our lives. This is a full moon that really gets us thinking about these questions. It's like, are you living for today? Are you appreciating the now? Uh, yeah, Yeah. So indeed, it's certainly a new cycle, I think, that's going to usher all of this in. Yes. And what I further want to mention is this conjunction between Jupiter and Venus, it's sort of like a time period then to reflect upon, of course, 29 degrees, anaretic degree, to reflect upon what Taurus philosophies have you established over the past year? Any Taurus philosophies, right? And by this, I mean Taurus philosophies, okay, philosophies to do with wealth, philosophies to do with patience. Mm, that's something that I have been just trying to drill into my brain the past while is patience is a virtue. Whilst I'm still kind of thinking, oh, patience is a virtue, just trying to be patient, trying to be patient. I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. Yeah. And yes, there are definitely times in my life where I'm like, can this just end? I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be in this situation. But anyway, anyway, patience is a virtue. So consider yourself any Taurus philosophy. So philosophies to do with your gifts, your skills, your self-worth. That's been a big one for me personally, the self-worth stuff. Self-worth, that is huge because it's like if you don't feel that you're worthy, what type of disrespect are you going to allow? That's this it just doesn't make sense to, treat ourselves in that way, and it's certainly a process, but maybe on that note, this is certainly also a full moon of self-love. Self-love. Of course, there is that conjunction to the sun as well. So maybe there's something about how we talk to ourselves. What is that inner monologue? What is happening in the mind? How do you talk to yourself? How do you treat yourself? So I think the Taurus planets at the very end conjunct the sun in Gemini. There's just that kind of the unconscious trying to come through and trying to remind us that hey, you're secure. Ground yourself here. We're in for a really interesting time. I mean, we've got this Taurus stellium during the full moon in Sagittarius, which soak it up, because we're gonna have a Gemini stellium coming up, and it's gonna be a bumpy ride. We're gonna get more into that in a minute, but yeah, I just wanted to say that. Now, the dispositor of the sun is in Taurus, Mercury, making that sextile to Saturn. So there is some room here for contemplation and going within and maybe being more artistically inclined, musical, breathing out. There is a steadiness of the mind, not feeling like we need to rush through conversations, knowing our worth when it comes to communication, and just being at ease, choosing ease. Choosing ease. Now, Jupiter and Venus will also oppose the moon. So there could be these big sort of feelings that come up about the future, about a new chapter for us. Maybe we can even sense that change is upon us. It's like, oh, I can feel it. Oh, I can feel it in my bones. Do you ever get that? Do you ever get that where you just feel like you're in a situation where, wow, things are never going to be the same? Hey, you can look at it like this: becoming a parent, right? Becoming a parent for the first time. I'm sure that is huge because that's literally like you have transformed yourself. Your entire body has transformed, you know? So that's massive. But you can maybe even reflect upon that, right? Something to do with your health, something to do with your family, something to do with your job, your mindset. Freeing ourselves as well then from false narratives about our beliefs. Freeing ourselves. Go back to November 2022. How have you freed yourself from certain false narratives? The sun then also illuminates our nervous system. So, suggesting just the importance of tuning in with our nervous system and regulating it. Of course, the dispositor of the sun is Mercury. So Mercury is in Taurus, reminding us of that our ability to slow down. That's been huge for me personally. And the past while Taurus season, I'm so thankful for Taurus season this year. It's mad. I feel like I've changed in these past few weeks more than I have in a number of months. And a lot of it has to do with my nervous system, just regulating that, coming to terms with, am I feeling stressed? Am I going overboard? How can I check in with myself? It's these types of things. And the thing is that this gives our body that nourishment. Venus says, love yourself. My goodness, love yourself. Why not? Hey, why not? And here's the other thing. Jupiter says positivity. Why not be positive about life? Right? I know people say like toxic positivity and that's very real. And I would also have moments of that. But there's still room for positivity when we can do it in a healthy way, of course. I think this energetically is looking at Venus and Jupiter together, positivity, trying to see the glass as half full, trying to recognize what do we have rather than focusing on lack. But also say yes to life. Say yes to life. Maybe the yes is tied to something very new, right? New opportunities, new experiences, pushing yourself like outside of your comfort zone. This is what Jupiter does. Jupiter expands things. And yes, expansion doesn't always mean good. No, it doesn't mean better either. Often, whenever we do expand, it's like, oh, it's too much. And then you're stressed because you're trying to manage everything. It's that whole saying of more money, more problems. It's like, be careful what you wish for. I know with Jupiter, be careful what you wish for. But Jupiter also gets us growing into all these different shapes and sizes. And it's like, wow, I didn't realize I could do that. I didn't know I could push myself that far, or I could explore this unknown place. Wow, I didn't realize that was what these people believed, or this knowledge existed. Wow, that's fun. And this is what I think this full moon is saying. It's like, oh my gosh, enjoy it. Enjoy the moment. Just do something that is exciting, something that you love. Be positive. Okay, so let's think about the sun and moon opposing each other. Now, like I said, a Gemini stellium is upon us, right? So change is upon us, and we're going to adapt. We're going to adjust in huge ways, but it's almost like this full moon in Sagittarius first is an opportunity for us to release, to shed, gain clarity, gain understanding. And then, boom, we come into Gemini season and this stellium starts to pile in. And then we have a new moon in Gemini. And so it's almost like just see how you can bring some type of clarity and understanding to your Taurus house during this full moon. Clarity and understanding about your resources, about your earnings, about what you have gained, but also to do with your gifts, what you're skilled at, how secure you feel, how stable you are. Take that time. And then we move forward from there. And things are going to certainly be, let's just say, up in the air, up in the air, full of new ideas. Yeah, it's going to be exciting for ideas, exciting for communication, networking, all this stuff. Okay, so with the sun and moon, however, there can be that conflict, that confrontational energy, right? But there can also be the ability to reach a compromise and to have a bit of give and take. So what is this about? This is about the bigger picture, Sagittarius, versus our everyday details and those sort of smaller things, I guess you could say. How, the smaller dots that are connected. So that's Gemini. And then we go with the logic, which is Gemini, versus the abstract, which is Sagittarius. General messages, which is very Gemini, versus greater understanding, which is Sagittarius. information would be more Gemini, and then the truth would be more Sagittarius. So it's trying to kind of find a bit of a balance, a bit of a give and take between these two opposing forces. But of course, this is also about that moon, right? The moon is illuminated, the sun is shining on the moon and illuminating just our desire to want to learn, our desire to want to seek knowledge, and to also recognize how far we have already came, how far we have traveled, how far we've came when it comes to these things. Because even think about it like this: there were eclipses in these signs between 2020 to 2022. So think about the axis, right? Your Gemini Sagittarius axis. Those eclipses ushered in new significant chapters to do with learning new skills and self-discovery. So can you see how much you have grown? How have you sort of spread yourself out really wide? I mean, how have you changed? Like, how have you stepped outside of your comfort zone over these past few years? How aligned are you with your philosophies, with your higher meaning? This is a full moon where it's time to release, shed. If there is anything that's, not really, you're not vibing with anymore, it's not really aligned with you, let it go. Let it go. Yes. The thing that we learn here is that flexibility is very powerful. The power of flexibility. And that nothing in this world ever stays the same. This is what the mutable signs really teach us, right? Because it's like cardinal signs come in first, right, with Aries. And then we go to the fixed signs next, and there's that stability. But mutable signs sort of, they're kind of huge and kind of a big deal, because mutable signs come in at the final point and say, nothing's ever stagnant. The only real truth is that nothing ever stays the same. Sadly. Is my South Node in Cancer showing a little bit? Like, why? I cry. I cry. Why? Why can't I have this moment forever? Why does it have to change? Anyway, I kind of go back to my days, when I love to dance and stuff like that. Comes to the end song, dancing. I'm like, why does this have to be the last song? I wish I could dance in this song for the entirety of my life. Anyway, right. So, what is holding you back from being free? What inspires you? What uplifts you in life? What quest are you on? Which road have you traveled? Which road are you traveling? This is an adventurous moon. It's like, come on, get the party started. It's also a lucky moon, right? If there's some kind of luck, there could be something quite prosperous and fortunate about it, right? The Taurus energy as well, right? Some wealth, some money, there could very well be. But I think one of the main things is what I was trying to say earlier. One of the main things is to do with self-belief, right? Do you believe you're worthy? Do you believe you're capable of great things? Do you believe that? Self-belief has been coming up for me in a huge way recently. Okay, so with the moon then, we're letting go of an unconscious habit, which is blocking us from joy, from happiness. And the sun is in Gemini. So finding joy in discovering a world of ideas, education. The sun is so much about our purpose. It's so much about our vitality. So it's almost like the full moon is a good way for us to clear that space, right? To clear that space when it comes to self-belief, for instance. And then it's like, okay, I can embrace this greater childlike, youthful innocence, where I can play around with ideas, where I can use my visions. Reflecting as well on our unconscious habits and emotional needs to do with stepping outside of our comfort zone. So, yeah, I especially think this is further highlighted with that Palace retrograde energy in Scorpio. There's just, there's something quite profound, right? I think this full moon is it's going to get us diving a little bit deeper into those shadows, into our fears, possibly. Yeah, clarity. Our patience as well may very well pay off. within our Taurus house. Because with Jupiter being at 29 degrees coming to the end and Venus, right, the two benefics, there could be something quite, blissful or pleasurable, something that is full of enjoyment, right? A really enjoyable experience, or being reminded of the many enjoyable experiences that have happened. Or even this is just a time period to gain some type of clarity, right? It's like to honestly look at the past year whilst Jupiter's been in Taurus. So Jupiter has been in Taurus since May, May of 2023. So to honestly look at the past year and think, oh my gosh, like what have I learned? What have I learned? Right? This is Jupiter. Jupiter does this. We want to do this. Jupiter goes, okay, right. This is what I've experienced. What have I learned? What really, the good, the bad, and the ugly, like give it to me, give it to me, and then you can use what you have learned to your benefit. But still, Jupiter says, how have you been blessed? How have you been blessed? How have you been gifted? What fortunes have come about for you? I'm trying to think what has happened for me. Maybe what I'm grateful for about Jupiter being in Taurus is how consistent I have been. I have been consistent even though it has been super challenging. For me, it has been, 2023 was perhaps one of the most challenging years for me. And that's not just sort of business wise, but that's also like family wise, emotionally, this type of stuff, full of challenges. But I'm also so grateful because I was consistent. Like instead of just going, oh well, that was difficult for me, I'm just gonna give up or walk away. No, I was like, I'm gonna be consistent. I'm gonna. It's funny. It says I'm plodding along, plodding along. It's that type of energy, and I did, I suppose, remain steady, and I tried to remind myself that I am the prize. You are the prize. I'm saying this because a good friend of mine taught me that, passed on that wisdom to me, and I'm like, yes. So here we go. You are the prize. Remember that. You are the prize. Okay. Like, so let's move on to this. Come on. Come on now. Are you going to move over? There we go. All right. We've got Sun trine Pluto retrograde and then Moon sextile Pluto retrograde. Right. So with the sextile between the Moon and Pluto retrograde, enthusiasm and inspiration can support, okay, because sextiles look at support and assistance. So these things can support any power struggles we experience within groups, teams, and communities. Knowledge can be gained from the full moon, right? And can be poured into innovation and progress. So the release, the aha moments about your beliefs, about your worldview, about how you grow, how you expand, your meaning, morality, gratitude, prosperity, fortune, abundance, freedom, all these things to do with the full moon, the understandings, the renewals, the insights that are gained, they can then be poured into innovation and progress, the changes, right? Having these aha moments, these lightning bolt moments, these I see it now, right? I see it, like I see the path, I see the way forward. And it could also be about self-belief upgrades due to a renewal. An old narrative dies within us, and so then we soar. It's like, bye, bye. Okay? That doesn't serve me. That false narrative about my worth, even thinking about our mindset. What is your mindset about, well, we'll just say it, money, right? Money. It's like, I don't know, it feels like talking about money and stuff like that can almost seem like it's a really dirty thing or something to talk about. It's like, no. Money. Yeah. What is your mindset toward money? What is your relationship toward money? What is what are your attitudes toward it? There could be something about, okay, this is where you've been maybe blocking yourself, limiting yourself, and there's more nuance to this. I understand, and I'm not trying to come across as like manifestation and all this. It's just to simply say, hey, logically speaking, realistically speaking, Taurus energy is so much about finances, wealth, security, survival, our livelihood, pleasures. So I think that this is a full moon that is going to get us thinking wider, bigger about these areas. And it's not about like, oh, I want to gain as much as possible or accumulate as much as possible. It's just more about mindset shifts. And so I think this is where we're noticing possible, breaking free from limiting beliefs. Possibly breaking free from limiting beliefs. Even Sun trine Pluto retrograde, this can show up as social/communication gifts and talents transformed due to deeper insight and deeper research. Even just having these greater, clarifying moments about our emotions and what's been blocking us, possibly. Even think about Pallas retrograde, right? Opposing Jupiter and Venus. So maybe there's something about our strategy that's not quite there. What is the strategy? How can we re-strategize, right? With the retrograde, re-strategizing when it comes to certain emotional blockages, right? Those emotional blockages, those emotional sort of disruptions that can get in the way of us actually having that self-belief, believing that we are worthy, believing that we are capable. It's this, oh my goodness. Oh, it's like I'm sort of going through this and I'm reflecting at the same time for myself. But you see, what have you been investigating then within your Aquarius house since April? Oh, connections may form or break. But I think as well, a big part of this is our intellectual passions. There's something about how we communicate truthfully, honestly. Again, it goes back to the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's like, no, when I am vulnerable and when I am honest with myself here, these are the things that I have experienced. This has been the year that I've had. We think about again the reflection upon Jupiter in Taurus over the past year. And for many people, it could be that, hey, yeah, it's been really hard. And it's like, just be honest about that, or for other people, it could be where there have been these major highs and the lows, and still it's like it's that. I think there's just something about that honesty piece. And then even because of that greater awareness, maybe we can move forward with that understanding, with greater depth, with greater knowing, and then we can make certain changes if we would like. But again, I think it comes back to strategy. Strategy. It's kind of funny because I've been really getting into human design, and strategy is a big part of it. And it's making me form different connections here, strategy wise, and just why it is important to follow a certain strategy. But so anyway, I think this full moon may get us reflecting upon what our strategy is and how we can maybe be more strategic in this way where we feel greater fulfillment, contentment, joy, joy, happiness, right? Uh, Sagittarius, Jupiter, Venus, it says, yes, bring me the joy, bring me happiness. I want to feel uplifted here. Lastly, we're going to move on to our final slide. We have a few things here. Now, that was my error. It's Mercury trine Juno. Just want to clarify that. My mistake, everyone. It's Mercury trine Juno and then sextile Saturn. So Mercury is in Taurus, the dispositor of the sun, meaning, okay, we want to use common sense, right? We also want to remember with Mercury and Taurus, yes, there's so much going on about what I've been saying about beliefs and prosperity and abundance, but still Mercury and Taurus is good because it's like still use a bit of common sense. Still use some common sense, be practical, be mindful about the steps, about any new ventures of yours as well. We want to think, um, for example, everybody's going to be a millionaire, just the reality, right? Not everybody's going to own a yacht in the world. Okay, common sense, people. But Mercury is making that trine to Juno. So there could be some type of, talent or gift to do with improvements, small little improvements we can make to relationship commitments. Loyalty is going to be a big thing here. Being rather matter of fact as well, looking at that step by step approach. So, yeah, consider these things when it comes to relationships, whether that be a business relationship or a romantic relationship, what have you. But relationships with Juno, it's more about a committed relationship. And then with the sextile to Saturn, self control and discipline about our solitude and our spiritual practices. Hey, what I think this is suggesting is just the importance, the power, the importance of and the power of checking in with our body. And that is something that I did mention with Taurus. It's it's like your body sensations. I will give you just a quick example. I mentally, right? Mentally, I was like, oh, I want to record a podcast episode before coming on today. But physically, right, my body was like, no, 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 no. I'm tired. I'm tired. I want to rest. I want to rest. I want to keep my energy for today, for the live stream. But my mind was still like, oh no, it's fine. Like I can do this. But then no, I did not let my mind run the show there. I was like, I want to tune in with my body. I want to really honor my body and what it needs. I want to look after it. That's been huge for me recently. It's like I really want to look after my vessel, my body. Yes. So with Mercury sextile Saturn, there could be some support that can help us out here. Grounding practices can help. Looking at our mind body spirit connection, our mind body soul connection. Now, Mars will also square Vesta, so family matters could very well just come up. They can make us jump into action, possibly. Just be mindful of your reactions to emotional situations. Be mindful even of kind of living or coming from a place of high stress or feeling like, oh, I need to rush, I need to rush, I need to jump in, jump in, jump in. It's like, oh, hold on, hold on. How can I like observe that part of me and breathe out a little bit? Yeah, it might even feel like we must protect others around this full moon, or like we must defend ourselves, defend our emotional selves from others. Now, Chiron, lastly, then will square Ceres retrograde. So there's more to the self-assertion story with Chiron and Aries here. Maybe in this regard, it's a good idea to take a look at the kinds of successes you're attached to. Yeah, there could be something about this full moon, with this square. Of course, that square is the same degree, 21 degree, right? But there could be something where it says, hey, you have tried all you can, and there's only so much you can do, and there's only so many times you can push. Maybe you can try a path of least resistance here and just not force and take a step back, go back to the drawing board. This could be then applied to a certain achievement, an accomplishment that you wish to obtain, that these types of things, or it could be um related to an accomplishment or a success that you've already been successful within, but maybe there's just something about recognition that isn't quite there yet. Okay, so I'm just going to read through your comments and then we're going to get into your horoscopes. Why can you go down, please? Edyard, hello to you. Oh, nice. Okay, great. Great. Good to have you here. Thank you. Hello to Angie. Oh, you say you're feeling a shift. Ooh, Sagittarius, you're anticipating the full moon. Ooh, I wonder what degree your sun is at. Is it 2 degrees? Is it around that? Think about 0 degrees up until around about 10, 12 degrees. Okay, Daniel, hello to you. Welcome, welcome. Hello to H. Hi to you. Hi. Yes, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Awesome. Okay. So we're going to move on to your horoscopes now. Okay. Okay, so firstly, we have Aries. Aries. So this full moon is going to happen in your 9th house. So perhaps think back to November 2022. You would have planted new seeds, set new intentions to do with your philosophies, to do with your higher meaning. Perhaps over the past couple of years, you have really outgrown particular belief systems, ways of viewing the world, or maybe it's that you've continued to expand upon these areas more so. But really, this is a full moon that is going to indicate a release, right? A release, some clarity, greater understanding. There could be greater understanding on your part to do with self-belief, perhaps. Or maybe there's even a reward, a new sort of opportunity possibly to do with travel or greater understandings about travel of where you would like to travel to, or even just using your experiences from travel and then sharing them with the world. But yes, indeed, this is a full moon that is going to bring much clarity to do with the bigger picture, to do with also self-exploration, broadcasting, possibly publishing as well, right? So there's just something about getting your message out there in a whole new way, or in a way where, you're feeling really inspired, you're seeking freedom, you're feeling uplifted. And with the dispositor of the full moon being in your 2nd house, conjunct Venus at the same time, we notice how a new cycle is being ushered in as well within your 2nd house. So thinking about a new cycle to do with your gifts, to do with your skills, right? What are you really skilled at? I mean, there could be significant skills here to do with how you are practical, right? Practical applications here, and being quite good at using common sense as well. And possibly as well a new cycle to do with your wealth, right? To do with your security, your finances, these types of things. Even um, developing that Taurus, that money, that money philosophy, right? How do you relate to money? How do you relate to your wealth? How do you relate to your gains? What are your attitudes toward wealth and abundance and prosperity and stuff like this? Oh, and one more thing for you then, Aries, is with the aspects. So with the sun and moon making those aspects to the 11th house, perhaps the self-belief stuff is also tied to communities, tied to how you show up with in your friendship circles, for example, maybe even recognizing how much you have outgrown previous attitudes or emotional blockages, emotional concerns within friendships and amongst your um, your peers or amongst group members. Okay, so Taurus. Right, Taurus. So we have this full moon happening in your eighth house. So back in November of 2022, Taurus, you would have set new intentions, you would have planted new seeds. Well, to do with things like shared resources, joint accounts, just joint financial matters, perhaps, or thinking about sharing in general, right? The exchange, how you share, how you sort of I suppose in a way there is a sense of collaboration there, but yeah, there could be new intentions that you set, maybe even regarding debt or paying off a loan, this type of stuff, insurance as well. um and then the thing is that over the past couple of years or so, you have expanded, right? I mean, perhaps for many Taurians, you have actually paid off a lot of debt, and you've even come to this point of I'm debt free. Now, of course, I understand that. I mean, if you have a mortgage, for example, you're not exactly debt free. I think we all have a little bit of debt, but I just mean debt free from a previous debt situation. Let's go with that. Or it could be that you've really proved yourself or sort of outgrown previous versions of yourself, um to do with intimacy, right? Intimacy and feeling close, right? There's that emotional bond, there's that emotional connection that you have with another. And perhaps this is even looking at your own sort of adventurous soul, your adventurous desires to do with knowledge and learning and just pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone, this type of stuff. I think, you coming up to this full moon, you're going to see a lot of clarity, right? Things are just going to be very clear. And when we also turn our attention to how Jupiter, the dispositor of the full moon, is in your first house, conjunct Venus, your chart ruler. Oh my gosh, it's remarkable. I find it so fascinating for you, Taurus, because we are noticing the potentialities of a whole new beginning, a whole new chapter for you. But maybe this is a full moon where it's more so about I can see how far I've come. I can see how much I have changed here to do with my identity, to do with my physical appearance. My actual body has changed. My identity has also changed, right? Whether that be through marriage or getting a house or pregnancy, whatever. We also notice then with the conjunction between Jupiter and Venus, it is ushering in a new cycle to do with gratitude, generosity, a new cycle to do with blessings, right? How blessed you feel, how lucky you feel, how fortunate you feel, right? I mean, this is the thing. It's like we don't have to, have so much money and wealth and fortune and all this stuff in order to feel that way, right? It can be a feeling. It's a feeling like, do I feel fortunate? Do I feel appreciative? Do I feel like I have enough? Am I content? And Taurus, you are the sign that has shown this. Oh, you've shown us this. And I'm so happy you have. You with Jupiter being in your sign the past year, you have really shown us that, do you know what? Yes, I am happy as I am. I am enough. I am worthy. I am the prize. Yes, we love to see it, Taurus. We love to see it. Um, and then what I also want to mention is to do with the sun and moon. So those aspects to Pluto. Hey, oh my gosh, this is so profound because I'm really reflecting on this in terms of observations. Anyway, yes, this stuff is also strongly linked to that of your career, your profession, your life's work, your life's mission. All of these things have really transformed for you. And I just think that this is a full moon that it's like, wow, when I really feel into this, when I reflect upon this, my gosh, I have changed. I have changed and I'm going to continue to change, right? Because Pluto's going to continue through that 10th house for you. Yeah, you're really going to surprise yourself, Taurus, in terms of how remarkable you can be, right? Remarkable within teams, remarkable within groups. You possibly leading certain networks, you leading within certain manager roles, right? Certain positions where you are in a position of authority, right? You're in that position of authority, Taurus, and people respect you because you come from a place of being humane, right? You know your humanity that way. Yeah, so anyway, the new cycle in your first house, I think, is just going to kickstart this whole new cycle to do with your security, your stability, and how these things are linked to your aims and your goals. Okay, so Gemini. Gemini. So for you, Gemini, we have the full moon happening across from you, right? It's coming into your season. Happy birthday, Gemini. Enjoy it, have fun. Yes. Happy birthday, solar Geminis out there. Now, with the full moon being in your 7th house, we see here that around November 2022, right, you would have set intentions, planted new seeds to do with things like business partnerships. Who do you want to work with, or who do you want to work for? What type of contracts are you kind of up for? Which type of agreements? What do you want to agree to? These matters, I think, then are linked to that of possibly mentoring, teaching, journalism, publishing, editing, marketing, sales, these types of things perhaps. But yes, but overall, over the past couple of years, you've really expanded. Like, this is what we see with this full moon. We recognize the journey so far and how every one of us, we have expanded in some area. For you, Gemini, this is how you have expanded when it comes to business. What's this now? Business, Gemini. So very fascinating to see. And I also think that a big part of this is via you sharing your truth, you sharing your wisdom, right? You've got this Gemini energy, and yes, you can connect the dots. Yes, you can gain facts and you can do your research and gather all of that data. But the Sagittarius part of it, apart across from you, says, okay, well, how do you understand that information? That's what we want to know here, right? The team members, the clients, the customers you're working with, or that you're working for, they're like, but we want you to kind of really understand this information. You tell it to us, like give it to us. And I think you've stepped up to the challenge, Gemini. You've really spread yourself that way. You've spread your wings and you've stepped outside of your comfort zone. So I think that this is a full moon that's going to illuminate a lot of this for you. There's going to be great clarity, maybe a new vision, right? A new vision that you'll be seeking. There could be like a whole new adventure, a whole new journey for you coming up. And that's so fitting because even Jupiter is going to be entering your sign just a couple of days, 2 days after this full moon. So get ready, Gemini. It's coming for you. Like you are about to really expand your mind, expand your aims. I mean, your aims could take a whole new path, right? There could be great travels up ahead, great travels up ahead for you. Anyway, so the full moon. Let's think about the Jupiter energy in Taurus conjunct Venus. So before we really get to that kind of out there, possibly traveling, possibly networking in new ways, meeting new people, being in these grand social situations where you're seen and you're recognized and there's all types of luck and prosperity happening. Before we get to that, let's think about Jupiter in Taurus here, conjunct Venus during the full moon, because this is going to usher in a new cycle within the Taurus area, right? So maybe for you, what will come through is, you know what? Upon deep reflection, upon deep contemplation, I can recognize how blessed I am, how gifted I have been, how fortunate I have been. but there's something deeply spiritual about these insights, right? It's this wisdom, this truth, this inner knowing, actually, this inner knowing about what you have obtained, what you have gained, the beauty that surrounds you, the beauty that's within you. Hey, maybe that's been a big part of your journey this past year. It's like that beauty is within, right? And you coming to terms with your self-worth and your self-beliefs. It perhaps felt like for many Gemini that there has been some guardian angel just blessing you, looking after you this past year, you know. Um yeah, a loved one, for example, maybe someone who has passed, right? And you have felt their presence, right? You felt them be with you this past year. So yeah, maybe this is a full moon where you're going to do that reflection, and you're just going to have this moment of, I'm so lucky. Like, I'm lucky to be where I am. I appreciate who I am. I am worthy. And it's feeling these things. Having even some time to relax, properly relax, Gemini, right? If you can. If you can. You know what? Flipping enjoy it, right? Whatever new experiences, new chapters are up ahead for you, right? With Jupiter entering your sign and everything. Uranus is going to enter your sign soon. Well, not soon, but in the next couple of years. But whatever new adventures are up ahead for you, therefore take your time to relax, to properly like indulge, just embrace this Taurus energy for what it is. Yeah. And lastly, I want to say Sun Moon aspects to Pluto. So with Pluto, I can't help but think that this stuff we talk about, right, with freedom and expansion within business partnerships, even relationships, we got to say, right, marriage stuff like that. So these things are then also linked to that of publishing, teaching, sharing, possibly taking on a new training program, or seeing how much you have grown. You know, how much you've grown in terms of your credentials, right? Becoming like really informed. Yeah, just really showing up as this magnetic influence. And yeah, I think even for you, Gemini, with Pluto transiting your ninth house for the next like 20 years or so, that's an interesting one. Because you're someone who loves to learn. So to have Pluto transiting your house of understanding and self-exploration and expansion, this type of stuff, looking at the bigger picture, I think, Gemini, your intelligence is just like it's about to absolutely soar. Soar. Okay, there's no one fooling you. No, no. Okay, let's go with Cancer next. I got a little bit carried away there for you, Gemini, but I hope you don't mind. Okay. Okay, so Cancer, we have here this full moon happening in your sixth house, Cancer. So let's take you back firstly. The new moon happens November 2022 in Sagittarius. So that new moon could have been where you set new intentions, you planted new seeds to do with work, possibly, right? Work, services, routines, habits, schedules. Let's think about this a second, Cancer. Ah, you sure know how to work. You sure know how to work, right? And this is also why I think this full moon says you also got to make time for rest. You're coming up to much needed, much deserved rest. Let's just say that, because all of this energy, right? This energy we have in Taurus, it's going to start to shift into your 12th house. So anyway, the expansion, basically, this is why I'm saying this, because Jupiter energy, Sagittarius there in the sixth, can suggest how you can overextend, how you can do a lot. Cancer, you can be very good at business. I always think this, just amazing at business. Very interesting to see with Aries in the 10th house, there's that leadership as well with Mars. But anyway, I don't want to go too off track from sticking to my process here. But yeah, so I think the new moon was like, okay, well, how can I gain greater freedom? How can I gain some type of, positivity or optimism within what I do? How can I enjoy what I do? Like, how can I be happy within where I am? It's this type of stuff, I think. Yes. So there is that freedom. There is that ability to expand your horizons here with respect to work. And that's interesting. You said there, Teresa, you walked off a job for a better one. See? Right? It's like, so to me, what this implies is that Cancer, you do value your freedom. You value your ability to grow when it comes to work, and it has to be meaningful, right? I think it has to be meaningful stuff that you're doing, and it has to align with something bigger than yourself, right? So, over the past couple of years, coming up to this full moon happening in your sixth house, this is a moment of clarity. This is a moment of understanding. It's a moment of rejoice, right? To celebrate what's happened, right? Hey, Teresa, you said about the job. Celebrate that, right? You find a better job. Like, that's awesome. So, even consider this, Cancer, in terms of your health, in terms of how you look after your well being, in terms of fitness, exercise, diet, whatever, if you want to maybe change something there, or maybe this is a time to even just appreciate, like, I feel good. I value my health. I want to feel good in my body. These types of things I think are coming up for you, Cancer. Now, Jupiter and Venus are both in your 11th house. So we notice that there is a conjunction. So there's the new cycle, right? There is a new cycle being ushered in to do with, well, possibly your hopes and wishes for the future. There could be a whole new trajectory for many Cancerians. So perhaps what you thought you wanted for a while, there's something about a change, but I think it's because what I'm getting from this with Jupiter and Taurus over the past year, recognizing where you can beat a dead horse. Because Taurus can be stubborn, Taurus can be stagnant, Taurus can be so immovable. It's like, I don't want to change, I don't want to change, I like what's familiar. So maybe there is something about recognizing where you have maybe sort of just used up all of your avenues, all of your resources. You've explored it all, Cancer. And so maybe there is this sort of clarity, or there's a change about, I want something different for my life, something where, I feel more stable and secure. And these matters as well, I think, are linked to that of friendships and communities and teams, and even just seeing here, Cancer, where you feel so blessed, so fortunate in terms of friends, right? Maybe many of you Cancerians, you have gained friendships over this past year where you're like, I am so lucky to have them as my friend. They're also lucky to have me because I'm the prize. But yes, it's like just feeling so appreciative and recognizing even how blessed you are. Even this can go can extend past friends. This could be communities that you've joined, right? Communities, it could be networks that you've been a part of, and you feel so welcome. You feel this sense of belonging. Oh, yeah. And then lastly, what I want to say is with the aspects to Pluto, so there's also an opportunity here to think about how the freedom within work, the expansion within work, even the resting stuff, right? Relaxation stuff, how a lot of that is linked to that of greater intimacy, greater connection. I mean, something just as an example to mention, this could be something as simple as, do you know what? I recognize how much I have been overworking myself, and that has limited me when it comes to connecting with my family, my loved ones, hey, my partner on that intimate level. Maybe, sexual things have sort of taken a hit because you're just constantly, going. But this is a full moon that's going to bring that clarity, and it's going to go, hey, what are my priorities? Well, I want to gain that intimacy. I want to gain that close emotional connection here. So there could be some review there coming up for you, Cancer. Okay, so Leo. Okay. Okay, so Leo, we have here the full moon is happening in your 5th house. Oh, oh, 5th house stuff. Oh, I love to see this for you. I mean, you you typically, you rule the 5th house, traditionally speaking. So we have for you, Leo, the full moon in the 5th house. Think back to November 2022. You would have set new intentions. You would have planted new seeds to do with things like adventure, fun, play, really wanting to expand when it comes to your hobbies. Possibly your hobbies are linked to broadcasting or publishing, teaching, this type of stuff. So over the past couple of years, you have grown, right? You've really grown. You have showed up, Leo. I think for you, Leo, you're coming to this full moon in Sagittarius on the 23rd of May, and you're realizing just how blessed you are, how fortunate you are when it comes to hobbies, when it comes to your forms of enjoyment. This is maybe even a full moon where you go, I really, really like the things that I like, and they light me up and make me happy, and they bring me joy, and I can express myself. Self-expression is everything to a Leo, everything to a Leo. So you can even find that, you have this creative outlet, you have this self-expression outlet that lets you grow, that lets you learn, that lets you gain knowledge and deeper understanding about yourself, about the world. And it just feels so inspiring. And when you're inspired, Leo, everybody else around you feels inspired. Everybody else feels it because you just give off this energy, you give off this radiance. Don't you love being around a Leo? When a Leo feels good, when they're feeling good, when they're feeling happy, oh, they give that off to everyone else around them. So magnetic. So magnetic. So yes, this is a full moon where you could very well be embracing all of this. And then we notice that the disposer of the full moon, that is in your 10th house. So it's almost like the joy and the happiness that you may experience, and the fortune and feelings, feeling blessed and this type of stuff, it's pouring out into public spaces. It's pouring into the work that you do. It's pouring out to bosses and managers, perhaps. It's like, why are you so happy, right? A certain manager or boss, why are you so happy today? And you're just like, it's the full moon in Sagittarius. Okay, I've got Jupiter and Venus in my 10th house. But no, it could just be where you feel really satisfied, really content, right? Really content within your career, really content within your position, gaining recognition. Hey, Leos love a bit of recognition. So there could be recognition, there could be some type of attention that you're gaining, and that attention is positive. That attention it's valuable, right? You feel like, oh, I feel good here because I'm being seen, or because my gifts, my skills are being recognized, and I'm getting good money, good money for what I do as well. But still, that conjunction between Venus and Jupiter, that could be where, it starts this new cycle, right? A new cycle to do with your gifts, to do with your talents, and how such matters then are linked to that of, for example, making a good impression upon the public, or hey, Taurus themes, finances, so managing finances, thinking about real estate, property, investments, thinking about food, cooking, gardening, this type of stuff. So yeah, it's almost like there is a new cycle to do with these things that you're gifted at. And not only just gifted, there's a professionalism to it. There's something professional here, so you could have a business, for example, Leo, or you could be in a certain position within your career. But you are that expert. You're that person that everyone comes to because you're the one who knows. You know how to do it. You've been doing it for years, possibly. You're really gifted at it. So soak it up. Soak it up. Appreciate your gifts. I think you may feel this way around the full moon. And again, I think there could be some type of clarity. There could be a release on your part, possibly even recognizing what you wish to let go of as well, in terms of certain forms of expression, for example. Okay, and lastly, Sun Moon aspects to Pluto retrograde. Right, we've got Pluto in the 7th house. So these aspects, it's interesting because the Pluto retrograde in the 7th house it could be suggesting how you have experienced greater power and possibly greater self-control when it comes to how you deal with customers or clients. So maybe that stuff will be looked at, perhaps power dynamics will be looked at there, but seeing how such matters, they can help you even transform in a way, so that you can feel greater ease or greater joy. Maybe just seeing what is limiting you a little bit, what fears may be holding you back from being able to express yourself in the way that you want to. And maybe a lot of that is tied back to self-belief, right? Yeah, there could be some self-belief transformations that you go through, or confidence, right? Confidence transformations, Leo, that you go through around this full moon. Right, so we're moving on to Virgo. Hello, Alexander. Welcome to you. And yes, thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Right. Virgo, right? So we have this full moon happening in your 4th house, Virgo. So I want you to think back to November 2022. So there could have been new intentions, planting new seeds to do with, let's just say, home, right? Where you live, matters related to family, matters related to your emotional security, literally property, like property. But then we noticed that with the full moon coming up over the past couple of years, maybe you have realized how much you have expanded yourself with respect to family. So, for instance, this could be you gaining greater understanding about certain relationships that exist within your family, seeing how you have established healthier freedom, more freedom, seeing how you have even outgrown certain emotional habits, emotional reactions. You may not react in the same way that you once used to. And maybe for you, Virgo, that's kind of a big deal, because that Sagittarius influence could suggest that there's some type of judgment there, right? There could be something about judgment that you have actually outgrown and you have addressed. Or perhaps it's even thinking about how your beliefs, right? The belief system that you grew up in, how that really shaped you. But this is a full moon that is showcasing some type of clarity and a greater awareness about, what do I actually believe? Maybe that's been a big process for you over the past few years, right? It's like, my family believes this, but what do I believe as an individual? And perhaps as well, there's something here about you pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone during these past couple of years, really pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. And that may be tied to, okay, yes, you may love to travel, but maybe there's possibly something about recognizing that no matter where you travel to, there you are there. And It's about addressing what's actually happening within. I think for many Virgos, this is a full moon that's showing how more emotionally like intelligent you have become over the past few years, and how that emotional intelligence is to do with inner wisdom, gaining inner wisdom. And as well, I want to say the property stuff. I do want to mention property and actually like the house, the home. Perhaps for you, you have these desires, right? You have these aspirations to do with, hey, possibly buying a home one day. That could be a real thing for you. Or just moving house. That could be something, right? So these visions, these dreams are very real. These aspirations are very real for you. And the new moon in Sagittarius, November 2022, could have been that time of, oh, I would like to do that, I would like to start that. But this is a full moon that's sort of saying, maybe there's a shift, maybe there's a change of direction, maybe there is a completion, perhaps there is a renewal, or there's a reset, or there's greater insight, there's greater feelings of contentment, recognizing even that, often less is more in life. Virgo, you often teach us this. But what I further want to mention is how the dispositor of the full moon, that is actually in the ninth house. So the ninth house is tied to our philosophies. It's tied to our bigger picture sort of thinking and abstract thinking. So with Jupiter and Venus, the conjunction, there's a new cycle being ushered in, and I think it goes back to feelings of contentment. I feel like it goes to less is more, and that actually you don't need as much as you think you do. And maybe there has been a great deal of higher meaning related to your security and your earnings and so on. Maybe even recognizing that over the past year, since Jupiter has been in Taurus, that yeah, sure, maybe there have been challenges and things like this, and there has been a real need to be consistent, but you have also realized that you're so resilient, just how resilient you have been and how determined you have been, how resourceful you have been as well, Virgo. So even just take this full moon as a time to really go within and to appreciate, how committed you have been this past year, how much you have shown up time and time again, with your messages, with your broadcasting, with your publishing, all of this stuff. But yeah, it's pretty great, I think, in this way for you. And then lastly, I want to say that the aspects to Pluto. So Pluto retrograde is in the sixth house. Oh yeah, so this is where we're noticing how these matters are linked to work, your services. You have been forced to transform. You have been forced, and you will continue to be forced to transform when it comes to work and services. And I think a big part of this is being able to say, actually, I know what I'm about. I'm stepping into my power right now. I I want to obviously consider, my communities, my groups, and my teams and so on, but I'm also an individual. I'm also going to share my uniqueness, what my unique strategy is, and to embrace, what makes you unique in terms of your services and your work. But yeah, there could be major sort of realizations about those renewals that you have went through so far when it comes to these areas, Virgo. Okay, so Libra, yes. Angie, you say you've got a Virgo rising and you've got your sun in Virgo. Nice. Edgard, you said Libra. Yes, we're on to Libra now. Okay. Libra, here we go. So we notice here for you, Libra, that the full moon is happening in your third house. So I want you to think back to November 2022. You would have set new intentions within your Sagittarius house. So intentions to do with, for example, hey, could be vehicles, commuting, driving, right? Getting from A to B, this type of stuff. Maybe even intentions to do with moving throughout your local area in general, right? Maybe you have realized over the past few years, Libra, that actually there is much to explore within a smaller area. There's a lot that can be discovered and looked at, and you can also gain so much freedom even within your local area, seeing how free you feel, how free you would like to be, and how much you can learn from just going to your local coffee shop, or going on a short trip, for example. Maybe, for you, Libra, you love to get out there, you love to explore. And maybe the further away the better, for some Libras. Travel could be a really exciting thing in this way, I think, for Libra, for you, Libra. But yes, the new moon could have ushered in just a new way, like a new intention, for instance, even new intentions to do with learning something new, right? Or furthering what you already know, furthering your understanding about certain subjects that you've been learning about over the years. But this is a full moon that's going to bring clarity. It's going to bring deeper, greater insight and understanding, and a release, right? A type of release. This could be even a narrative, a view, right? A mindset to do with self-belief, or to do with the knowledge that you have already gained, right? Maybe there's something about your morals or your ethics or your knowledge that you're like, I'm not sure. Does that really align with me anymore? Is that something that I would want to speak of? Is that really a part of my truth anymore? I'm not really sure. So there could be some, real meaningful messages coming through for many Libras. And hey, it could also be where you've relocated, right? um Possibly relocating more within a smaller area, but your neighborhood could very well have changed over the past few years. But that neighborhood maybe has that greater expansion, and has that greater space, so to speak. I think, Libra, you crave that space, right? That ability to roam and just to feel like, you're out in this open area and you can move. I think that freedom of movement is really, really important to you, Libra. So this is a full moon, I think, that's going to highlight a lot of this. But I think as well, with the dispositor of the full moon being Jupiter, and that's in the 8th house, right? Conjunct Venus, which Venus is your chart ruler. I think there's also a deeper meaning to all of this. I think there's a deeper message to all of this. Perhaps this is looking at how, the neighborhood stuff, the freedom stuff within your local area. I think much of it is to do with past sort of traumas, or past darker moments throughout your life. It's like you're looking, or you're seeking that sense of release. You're seeking that to feel like you're not in someone's control anymore, or like you have what it takes to gain greater insights, and greater understandings, which can then support or help your intimate relationships, or how you connect on a deeper level with others as well. Yeah, so there could be a lot then coming up for you, Libra, right? A lot that's being triggered, or a lot that sort of is trying to come through the psyche, trying to come through the unconscious, to make you aware. Maybe the awareness is to do with, well, finances, value, how you share then in this way with others. So sharing your finances with others, and even the conjunction between Jupiter and Venus, that's ushering in a whole new cycle, right? It's ushering in a whole new cycle to do with gratitude, appreciation, abundance, wealth, love, kindness, right? Generosity, all of this type of stuff, Libra. So maybe this is a full moon where you're going to be able to sit back and think, like, I'm so glad that I invested so much of my time into that, or I'm so glad that I committed, or that there was a follow through on my part. And there could even be a lot to do with, psychological change, psychological growth, seeing how you have grown so much on this level, and maybe even seeking greater pleasure. Yeah, pleasure could be, and sensuality as well, could be a significant thing about this full moon, and how sensuality and pleasure could be linked to this new cycle up ahead for you. And then lastly, I want to say that the aspects to Pluto retrograde. So Pluto retrograde is in the 5th house for you. Yeah, interesting. So yeah, I think This could either be about romance, creativity, hobbies, or forms of enjoyment, or this could be about children. So, how the I kind of want to think about how the freedom stuff that we just previously mentioned, how, well, the self belief stuff as well, how that's then linked to, well, how you connect then, like how you connect with your romantic partner. Maybe even for many Libras, you are looking for greater time off. You're seeking that. Maybe a lot of this sort of determination and the hard work that is going in right now, it's like it's part of a bigger plan, because you know in your heart of hearts that you want greater free time. You want time to yourself. You want time to spend with your children. You want time to spend um with your romantic partner, right? With your lovers. Let me see. SJ. Oh, thank you. Nice. Okay. Nice. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Brilliant. Yeah, thank you both so much for watching. Okay, yes, Sagittarius rising is coming very soon. But yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say for Libra there. It's so funny. I was moving my hand and it was like a shadow and I scared myself. I didn't scream or anything, but I scared myself with my own shadow. Like I swear. Oh, I was like, something's trying to attack me in my own shadow. Anyway, we're moving on to Scorpio now. Let's see if I just make a couple of adjustments. Yes, Scorpio, here we go. Scorpio, this full moon is happening in your second house. So I want you to think back to November, right? November 2022. So you would have set new intentions, planted new seeds, to do with forgot shadow work. I'm getting distracted. Sorry, Scorpio. I don't mean to. This is about you. Sorry. Right. So the new moon would have been about setting new intentions to do with, okay, earnings. My goodness, Scorpio, can we just take a moment? Can we take a moment to just like celebrate you a minute? Because I really think for many Scorpios, you have been able to dig yourself out of something financially complex over these past few years, because I think November 2022 was like, right, okay, I'm ready to really free myself, right? To free myself from any sort of false narratives, false beliefs about money, being worthy of money, attracting it, your relationship with it, and possibly thinking about as well new intentions to do with your skills and your gifts, right? Because hey, Scorpio, you possess these skills and gifts to do with knowledge, to do with spreading your knowledge with the world, sharing it with the world. You can be such wise people when when people cross the sort of um when they pass the test, I guess. just to be funny about it, just when they pass the test, right, the trust test. Oh, you have such amazing insights to share. So anyway, all of this is to say that over the past couple of years, you have grown so much. Oh my goodness. You have grown so much. And it's like, wow. I mean, typically this is you anyway, Scorpio. You soar. When you go through your transformations, it's huge. So I think a lot of this has to do with your finances, right? How you have outgrown a certain way of making money, or realizing how you can make it in a more freeing way. Or maybe even recognizing how fortunate you are or how blessed you are in some ways. Gaining deeper understanding as well about your physical security. Yes, self belief could be a big part of this, right? Valuing your self belief, valuing optimism. I think many Scorpios, you come to learn this throughout your life. It's like, I'm not always going to be in this dark place. Okay. I can look at the bigger picture. I can look at the positive approach here. Yes. So this is a full moon, I think, where so much is going to come to light, and You may feel really blessed, valuing your fortune, valuing your security, valuing not just physically. Let's think about the internal. Okay, we want to go within as well. We want to think about your inner security. We want to think about your self-worth and just how much that is coming to light here for you, Scorpio. So that's pretty awesome. And then we think about how Jupiter is in the 7th house, the disposer of the full moon, conjunct Venus. So a new cycle is also being ushered in to do with clients, customers, right? I think for many Scorpios, you have gotten to this point where you know what your values are when it comes to managing others, when it comes to business, when it comes to partnerships, relationships, clients, customers. You know your worth, you know your value. You know what your limits are and what you're willing to tolerate from other people. And you're not going to put up with any disrespect. This is so much about you coming to terms with the types of the types of people you want to work with, but also the types of money you want to gain from those relationships as well. Yes. Yes. This is so interesting. This is just seeing how perhaps influential you are or how attractive you are. Oh, you're attracting all of this like beautiful energy to you, right? People are like dying to work with you, Scorpio. They're dying to. They're like, I want more. I want to book with you. I want a service from you. Come. So this to me is just like having these opportunities, feeling blessed about partnerships, even to think about this in terms of relationships, marriage, commitment, this type of stuff. There could very well be here, Scorpio, that you wish to take a relationship to the next level. It could also be that, you feel really blessed or fortunate, from within. And maybe that really shows, right? It shows so much, it shines through your relationships as well. And as I say, people may want to be around you, they may want to connect with you, but this new cycle, right, between Jupiter and Venus, it's this whole thing of, okay, a new cycle of gifts and talents to do with business. A lot of this, I think, is to do with business. And even just thinking about the type of philosophies that you have surrounding that and what you have learned whilst Jupiter has been in Taurus over the past year. And then lastly, we have Pluto retrograde in the 4th house. So with the aspects to Pluto retrograde, oh my gosh, the business stuff, right? The business stuff, the relationship stuff, the client stuff, the customer stuff, a lot of it, I think, is also in a way linked to that of family, home. Oh, maybe wanting to spend more time with family, maybe wanting to enjoy more, enjoy your time to just be at home, be in your private space, to not feel like, you have to be out there so much. I think that the Pluto transiting your 4th house over the next 20 years or so, that is going to showcase these huge transformations that you're going to experience, right? But when it comes to home, now, of course, it could be that these renewals and these transformations are quite harsh. That could be a real thing as well. I just want to say that. And maybe a part of it as well, it's like, because Pluto, of course, is one of your chart rulers, so maybe there is a part of this full moon where you're also reminded of a new set of ways to overcome, right? There's new challenges to overcome here. And maybe those challenges are about, oh, right, okay, here we go again, Scorpio stuff. These endings, possible endings to do with family and home and everything else. But also my resilience, reminded of my resilience and my ability to grow stronger through these experiences. And even the home stuff could then be linked to the financial stuff, and self-belief. Oh, self-belief and self-worth stuff as well. Okay. Sagittarius. Let's see. Okay, so you have this. Oh, let me get my timer. My apologies, 2 seconds. Yes, Sagittarius. So you have this full moon happening in your first house. This is your full moon. This is your full moon, isn't it, Sagittarius? So happy full moon. Uh, think back to November 2022, because around this time, I think many Sagittarians, a new vision, a new vision was planted, so to speak, a new way forward, a new direction, a new adventure, a new adventure to do with your identity, to do with your physical appearance, your aims, your goals, this type of stuff. And so we notice here 2 years on, well, a couple of years later, that with the full moon coming up, there is this understanding, there is this expanded. My views have changed. My beliefs about myself and about my body, they have changed. And I am feeling so much more positive in my skin, or so much more comfortable in who I am. And maybe as well, there is that expansion of your goals, right? Maybe you have embarked on new exciting journeys, you've entered new exciting chapters to do with your goals. And those goals could be linked to travel or knowledge or publishing or educating or broadcasting, this type of stuff. But again, it's like you recognize around this full moon how much you've grown so much. And I think even in this way, this is your full moon, so it's, enjoy that, appreciate that, right? We even see this with Jupiter, your chart ruler. Your chart ruler is with Venus, the two benefics. It's like, really appreciate your worth, appreciate what you have gained, what you have earned, what you have overcome, how much you've grown, especially when it comes to matters like routine, routine, your daily habits, work, your services. There has been this consistency on your part, right? This plodding along type of energy over the past year was Jupiter in your sixth house. And maybe, yes, it has been, there have been moments of, oh, I don't know, like energetically, oh, I don't know, I can't be bothered with this, right? Because with you want, right, with Jupiter in Taurus, it's not very like freeing, is it? It feels kind of confining. There's that sort of confinement, like, no, you're limited to here, Sagittarius. And that's so not you, because you think, I don't want to be. No, don't make me do this. But actually, this is great for you, because in a really, like, on a psychological level, on a physical, practical level, you recognize that no, this everyday stuff, the routine stuff, it's teaching me something. It's teaching me something about how I can grow within these areas. So Jupiter then conjunct Venus is ushering in a whole new cycle to do with these blessings, right? To do with gratitude, like just being so extremely grateful for the sort of mundane tasks that you've had to do over the past year. Over the past year. And yes, Ed already said there about Uranus as well in the sixth house for Sagittarius, the unexpected, like Uranus. Of course, we haven't really mentioned Uranus in these horoscopes. I mean, we'd be here for hours and hours if I went through every single planet. But right. But yes, there has also been the unexpected for you. Still, the conjunction, I think here, it's a new cycle to do with abundance, to do with security and patience and that stability when it comes to the everyday, when it comes to your routines and also your health, right? Health is wealth, this type of stuff. It's this attitude, right? Your health is your wealth. So yeah, I think there have been these interesting philosophical views which have been coming up for you. It's actually kind of interesting because one of my friends has a Sagittarius rising. And that's why I said the health is wealth stuff, because she said that literally today. And I was like, okay, this is the philosophy for Sagittarius rising with the sixth house. But I digress. Health, I think, has been a big priority. Indeed. And what I also want to mention is with the aspects, so we look at the aspects to Pluto. Okay, so Pluto is in the third house. So at the same time, I think there's something about liberating yourself from a mindset. I think there's something about a type of mental renewal, or even maybe just be cautious a little bit of any sort of obsessiveness, or really reading really heavily into things, or becoming consumed, in this mental this energy. But hey, it could also be where perhaps there is something deeper to look at, right? There is something psychological there going on, which maybe could be a time of clarity, right? A time of release because of those wider visions that come up, and because of your ability to almost see things in a flash, if you will, around this full moon. Okay, so Capricorn. Um, okay, Capricorn. So we have this full moon happening in your 12th house. All right. So I want you to think back to November 2022, Capricorn. There was the new moon. Okay, so the new moon happened in Sagittarius. So setting new intentions when it came to your spiritual beliefs and spiritual practices, perhaps setting new intentions when it came to things like symbolism, mythology, art, music, solitude, escapism, this type of stuff. But the full moon here coming up suggests how much you have grown. I think many Capricorns have grown when it comes to your inner knowing, your inner faith, when it comes to your inner wisdom. I think many of you Capricorns have been learning about what it means to really not just sort of, in a way, act in this positive way, but to also reprogram the brain in a way where you do see that you are gifted, or that you are blessed, or that you can, you can appreciate things. Because I just want to say this, Capricorn, I love you, Capricorn, and I'm also speaking from a place of I have a Capricorn stellium, so I just want to say that. But often Capricorn, you can focus on lack. You can focus on all the things that you don't have. And I'm not saying that that's not, part of reality. Of course, that is that is often the reality for us. It's like, well, yeah, there are a lot of injustices in the world, and how things are. It's a lot of it's just not fair, and maybe in your case as well, you often do think like, if only I had that fighting chance, if only I had that opportunity, if only that, that type of stuff. But what I'm trying to get at is that often what can happen with you, Capricorn, is you can dwell in this place of lack, right? You can dwell in this place of if only, if only, if only, but I think Sagittarius, it's interesting because Sagittarius, in a way, in your 12th house, is it's trying to push through. It's trying to push through to tell you something, that it's also possible to hold space for what you do have. It's okay to look at and to appreciate, oh, this is amazing. I have this, and, to give that appreciation, to feel somewhat blessed, even, in this way. And I really hope that I'm coming across in a sensitive way. And there's nuance to a lot of this stuff. That there really is. It depends on your own sort of individual experience with lack, appreciation, and it is a really complex thing. But the way the astrology is lining up, I think, with this full moon in Sagittarius, I think it's trying to push through, and it's trying to get through your dreams, through symbolism, through music. It's like, enjoy this moment. I'll give you an example. I'll give you just a silly example. For me, I was listening to music earlier, and I had not done that in such a, well, I listen to music every day, but I I used to listen to music as just part of my everyday. I would intentionally set time aside to listen to my music, and I had not done that in so long. I can't even remember the last time I did it. And so for me, it's just been filling up all of my days with work, or, just other things related to work. Okay, Capricorns can often be like this, but anyway, that moment of just intention setting, of just, I really enjoy this. Like, I'm grateful for this. This makes me happy. I'm not really focusing on work. I'm not focusing on what I have to do, right? I'm here right now. And so maybe there is something about that spiritual part of it coming through. So yeah, I think this full moon could very well highlight this type of stuff. And then also Jupiter itself, this is so interesting because Jupiter, the disposer of the full moon, it's actually in your fifth house. It's conjunct Venus. So there is a new cycle being ushered in within your fifth house. To do with what? To do with free time, spare time, to do with, do you know what? I don't want to have to work. I don't want to have to fill my day with, doing something, if you will, which doesn't just have to be about work, of course, but this is about pleasure, sensuality, experiencing joy, experiencing happiness, feelings of contentment, appreciating what you have, right? This is a new cycle of gratitude and blessings and abundance and all these types of things. And this doesn't just have to be financially, right? It doesn't just have to be about the material world. This is also an inner thing. It's inner worth, it's inner value, it's inner appreciation, and even thinking about success within itself. I mean, Capricorn, you're huge on success, but I think maybe what this is about, it's also recognizing that success can mean something so different, to each individual person. And to feel successful from within is, that is blissful. That is magic. That is magic. And that doesn't have to just be, based on like, oh, how much money you have or the position that you're in. It's like, no, I feel fulfilled, I feel good, I feel content from within. So this is a new cycle, I think, about these areas, perhaps even as well, a new cycle to do with romantic relationships and feeling secure, right? Feeling really healthily secure, having that healthy secure attachment style within your relationships. And then lastly, what I want to say is the aspects to Pluto. So we've got Pluto in the second house. Oh, well, there we go. So we go back to self-worth. We go back to the money stuff. We go back to the financial stuff, security. Yeah, success, feeling like successfully, abundant and inwardly abundant, should I say. And yeah, having that appreciation and maybe even experiencing these breakthroughs, right? These renewals to do with these areas, maybe because of a power dynamic, right? A power dynamic maybe shifts. Okay, so we move on to Aquarius. All right, Aquarius. So we have this full moon happening in your 11th house. Oh, this is exciting because this is your domain, isn't it? Right? 11th house stuff. Let's think about this, Aquarius. November 2022, you would have set new intentions to do with, well, let's think about groups, the collective, your future visions, your future aims, right? Collective aims, right? Being a part of society, but also marching to the beat of your own drum, not following the status quo, right? You set new intentions back then. And maybe these intentions were also linked to your freedom, right? Abundance, spreading your wings and flying, possibly hosting, teaching, mentoring, getting up there in front of an audience. Whenever I reflect upon this for myself, right? So I've got an Aquarius sun. I think about November 2022, and that was before I ever did live streams, before lives ever existed here on Hannah's Elsewhere. So here we are, a couple of years later, and I've done many live streams, possibly 100 of them at this point. I'm not really sure. I probably need to count them. But yeah, so I have stepped outside of my comfort zone in the past year. And wanted to communicate my message with the world. So think about this for you, Aquarius, right? How have you expanded? How have you grown these past couple of years? How have you stepped outside of your comfort zone and really taken on new opportunities, new ways to sort of open doors for yourself? Inspirational indeed. You may be feeling really inspired, really uplifted around this full moon. Maybe even this willingness, this readiness to connect to connect with the world. Definitely. Yes, Edward, live streams are healthy for conversation. They are, and I have really enjoyed that about live streams. It has been great to speak with members of the community, with you viewers, right? That's the thing. The 11th house can show up as our communities, members of the group. So yes, Aquarius, embrace this full moon. It could be a time of greater understanding, rewards, clarity, greater recognition, just, yeah, feeling free, feeling like you're on top of the world, celebrating these wins, Aquarius. Now, we also want to think about Jupiter. So Jupiter is actually in the fourth house. Interesting, the fourth house, home, home. So it's almost like, okay, you uh, getting your message out there to groups, but doing so within the comfort of your own home, perhaps. Also, this could also look like a new cycle, right? Because Jupiter is conjunct Venus there during this full moon. A new cycle to do with real estate, to do with property, to do with your living situation. Family matters could also really change here. Maybe there's something about, feeling quite blessed or fortunate or lucky, or there could also be a likelihood of you expanding or stepping outside of your comfort zone in ways to do with family and home over the next year or so, right? So watch this, right? It could be that over the next year or so you do move, you actually you relocate, or it could be that your emotional needs, your emotional security, they are shaken up in huge ways where you actually do feel really valuable. You recognize your gifts. This is great for you, Aquarius. It's like, yes, I recognize my gifts. Yes, I recognize that and what I have to offer the world is unique, right? That's a big thing for Aquarians. It's like you want to have a unique message. You don't want to just do what everybody else has been done, right? Um, Oh, interesting. Eddie, you say you're looking for a place to live, rent. Interesting. Oh, okay. You've got an Aquarius rising, don't you? Well, I really hope it goes well for you in that way. But yeah, so there could be that ability to find what is unique and to do what is unique. And Uranus, of course, is one of your chart rulers. And we did say earlier that Uranus is quite, it's quite close to Jupiter and Venus around this full moon too. So there is this level of the unexpected. There is this spark of excitement, possibly, around the full moon. Yeah. And what else? Let's think about as well with this new cycle. Let's think about family relationships themselves. You could very well be seeking to just feel content and to feel a greater ease within family relationships. And it's almost this attitude of it doesn't need to be so difficult. You don't want drama. You don't want these overly complicated people. I think for you, you're at a stage, Aquarius, around this full moon and beyond. It's like, I'm done with the dramatics. I just want to chill. I just want to be okay in my own space, because I think even with Uranus transiting your fourth house over these numbers of years, just a lot has been happening, the unexpected, time and time again. Honestly, as an Aquarius myself, with the sun there, Uranus transiting and my fourth house, no, not my fourth house rather, but I don't have an Aquarius rising, my mistake. But my Aquarius sun, right? The Uranus energy for me, where if I think about derivative houses, right? That energy for me, I can see that. I can see how, chaotically speaking, it has been. Nothing is super settled. There is a lack of security, actually. So it might be nice to not have to relocate so often or have to move so often with that Uranus energy. But anyway, lastly, Pluto retrograde, right? So Pluto retrograde is in the first house. So there's a big part of this as well that is so much about your own identity being transformed at the same time. And you're going to notice this over the next 20 years, Aquarius. And I'm probably going to go on and on and on about this with you over the next 20 years. Will I be here 20 years doing live streams? I don't know. Will I? I'm like, will I actually? No, I'm like, but yeah, I think over the next 20 years, there's just a lot to do with your aims, your goals, your identity changing, transforming, the renewals that you're going to go through. So I think this is a full moon that's also going to highlight these areas for you. And lastly, we have Pisces. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Thank you. Yes, Pisces. Rightio, lastly, Pisces. So this full moon is actually happening in your 10th house. This, I think, is quite exciting for you, Pisces. So I want you to think back to November of 2022, right? There was a new moon in Sagittarius that happened, and that new moon could have ushered in, okay, new intentions, planting new seeds to do with your career path, what success means to you, your life's work, your purpose, this type of stuff. So we fast forward a couple of years later, and maybe around this full moon, you're thinking, wow, I've really grown. Wow, I've really changed and expanded. My truth has, and my message has changed greatly. How I present myself in front of the public, my public persona, these things have really changed. But maybe those changes have been tied to that of knowledge, wisdom, freedom, your philosophies, your worldviews, your self-belief, right? There's been like a self-belief upgrade perhaps for many Pisceans over the past few years, and feeling really lucky, feeling blessed within your chosen profession, or when it comes to the direction that you're choosing, right? Your life path, this type of stuff. Then we see how, with the full moon, there could be clarity, there could be understanding, there could be a releasing point, a letting go here, right? Letting go of a certain narrative, letting go of a certain belief or a worldview that just doesn't serve you anymore, possibly. And then we notice how Jupiter, which is the dispositor of the full moon, that's in your 3rd house. So that is there with Venus, the conjunction, highlighting a new cycle to do with the likes of learning, to do with practical applications when learning. Excuse me, practical applications when it comes to just informing or doing research, this type of stuff, or possibly thinking about where you wish to move to. There could be something about moving throughout your local area or connecting with people within your local area in a way where you feel even steady and stable. And maybe as well, the relocating stuff is about your security, it's about your stability. Maybe that stuff as well is linked to your career. It's more so aligning yourself on a more everyday local level, aligning yourself then with, so aligning these things, right, the local stuff with the public stuff, right? So it could be, for example, seeing that, okay, there is a big new opportunity, a travel situation, a work situation that maybe requires you to move or requires you to grow or change in huge ways. So how those things then are linked to, okay, your neighborhood, your local area, how you move, how you commute, vehicles, stuff like this. Yeah, there could be significant shifts, significant changes, which do look out for that then over the next year or so. So things could unfold, where, for example, you do get that consistent paycheck, or you are noticing maybe more people are wanting your sort of services, like they want to hear your voice, they want to sort of purchase products that you have written, that you have composed. This is what I'm kind of seeing from this. And what I also want to mention is just the patience piece, right? That whole thing of patience as a virtue, and the security space, that inner security, your self-worth. I think this could be a full moon where all of this stuff is very much about your mind, right? Having that mindset, even yes, having a patient mindset, yes, having a grounded mindset, and communicating in practical ways. But also, this could be about having a money mindset. This can be about your mindset toward money, toward attracting that money, toward attracting the clients and customers, you know, who can assist you then with that money, right? So yeah, it's that recognition, it's that sort of attraction, so attracting those people to you. But I think a big part of this, it's more so because in a public setting, amongst the public, within your professional life, amongst managers, bosses, they can see that there's that enthusiasm pouring out of you. They can see as well that you're honest. I think what makes you very like recognized, or what people value strongly about you, is your honesty, your ability to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And there's no shame in any of it. That's the thing about it too. But yeah, your wisdom as well could very well be recognized around this full moon. And that must feel good. That must feel good, Pisces. Then lastly, Pluto. So yes, the sun and moon, those aspects to Pluto retrograde. Maybe this is also indicating just how much you are growing on this psychological level, this spiritual level, looking at perhaps those subtle psychological shifts that have occurred whilst Pluto has been in Aquarius. But maybe it's even looking at what you're still learning, what you're revisiting. Could be certain fears, could be certain phobias, could be particular dreams that are trying to really tell you something, and you're trying to look for the hidden meaning behind those dreams. Okay, so that's the full moon in Sagittarius. Everyone, thank you so much for being here. It has been a pleasure hosting this event, and I really hope that you find it to be helpful. And if you're interested in joining the Patreon, then you can do so by going to the link in the description box. Just go to patreon.com/hannahselsewhere. You can get access to daily forecasts and all the rest of it over there. Thank you so much to my patrons for all of your support. And if you did enjoy this live stream today, you can always buy me a coffee. Of course, there's no pressure. Thank you so much for listening. And if you would like to book a reading with me, then you can visit my website, hannahselsewhere.com. And just one final thing to mention before I leave you, a reminder that there is a competition happening over on my community tab, right? The community tab on YouTube. To enter, you just need to go to the Cosmic Check-In podcast and rate it 5 stars. And then from there, you fill in the form to let me know your details, to let me know that you've done it, and then you'll be entered into a draw to win the astrology guide, my astrology guide that I've created. So yes, and even if you just want to listen to the podcast so far, you can do so. All of the signs are up. Okay, we've talked about the fire signs, the earth signs, the air signs, and the water signs over there. Thank you all so much for your time today. Thank you for commenting, right? Edyard, thank you for your comments, for really being very engaging. And SJ, thank you so much as well. And yes, I wish you all the best as well, SJ. Yeah, because you were saying about like health stuff, I think. Yeah, I hope that you do feel better as well. And Trinidad, thank you for being here as well. And Eddie, thank you. Thank you to Infinimetrical, is it? Thank you very much for being here. Yes, okay, everyone. Good luck during the full moon in Sagittarius. Have a great weekend. Hey, I'm going to be on Sunday. I'm going to be going live with Jasmina. We're teaming up again, okay? We're going to be talking about the synastry between Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds on Sunday. So that's going to be super fun. And then live readings on Sunday evening. Hope to see you there. Bye.